Good evening, everybody. It is 6 o'clock. How are you guys doing? Before we begin with the typical podcast, I'm going to go ahead and let you guys know that we're going to go ahead and move on to something new. Before I continue on with another writing skill, this is still food for thought, thoughts if it were you by Neogentrix, but I'm going to be also putting my podcast up available on YouTube real soon, so y'all can look forward to that. And they will be available also on my Facebook page. I will definitely be making that available as well. Along with that, my book that I wrote, I am currently working on a short story series. That is already available now in audio, printed, and ebook format through Amazon. Coming up in the future, I will play a piece of it. For those who are interested in hearing the rest of it, just so you know where the book is available at, I will probably go through the entire book and put it on here for you to listen to in my podcast in the future. So there's something to look forward to. Now, to get back on topic, like I said before, this is Food for Thought, Thoughts If It Were You by Neogentrix. And last time we covered just basic writing skill essentials. Today, we're going to move on to the next thing, common mistakes in writing. Okay? Some writing mistakes are very common and frequently seen in both printed materials and online, And by learning to recognize such errors, you can improve your writing skills and avoid common writing mistakes in the future. Okay? Remember, mistakes in writing can be embarrassing and costly. Would you buy from a company whose marketing materials are peppered with common mistakes that could have easily been avoided? Think about that for a minute. And then, take some time to familiarize yourself with certain mistakes listed on select websites, pages, grammar textbooks, and so on, to help you remember to always get somebody else to check your writing before it is published, okay? Even the most confident writers make mistakes sometimes, okay? Like one of the most common ones, affect and affect. Affect with an A is a verb. For example, sometimes the weather affects my mood. The other is effect with an E. It's a noun. The example for this would be the effect of weather on ice cream sales is well documented. By thinking in terms of the effect, you are usually determine whether to use affect or effect, since the will not work in front of a verb. You can't do that, and if you did, it wouldn't make any sense. And to add to the confusion, bear in mind that some people may also use effect as a verb. For example, contractors seek to effect a settlement with strikers, but this usage is slightly archaic and most often used in legal writings, so you don't really have to worry about that too much. Let's move on to the next thing. Apostrophes. Continuing in the list of common mistakes. Apostrophes strike fear into the heart of many, okay? However, learning a few simple rules and inevitable exceptions should help you use apostrophes with ease with no problem, okay? The apostrophe is used for a purpose, either to indicate a possession, implying ownership, or a contraction, in place of, other letters. Since it's used to indicate a contraction is the easiest, we'll deal with this one first, okay? Using apostrophes to indicate contractions, where one or more letters have been dropped, an apostrophe is used as a replacement. Like it is it. Or we are equaling we're. Does not equaling doesn't. Or of the clock equaling o'clock as a simplified form. When you use it to represent possession, it can be used in terms of like Matthew's car, the word Matthew followed by an S, but putting an apostrophe there, showing ownership. Or the farmer's field, one's field owned by one farmer. If the subject, the farmer, or Matthew, has a name ending with an S, then there's a choice to either follow the formal rule and leave it like, the Joneses house and add another apostrophe S, or drop the final S, hence the Joneses house as an example, with one S that was originally there. The choice is a matter of style, but the important thing about it is to be consistent throughout the entire paper. Okay, if the subject is plural, the apostrophe is placed after the S by default. Okay, examples of this would be teacher's staff, the farmer's field. And on that note, note that if the word is already plural, for example, children or people, then you just write children's or people's. All right, although it doesn't quite sound right. With that being said, there are times not to use an apostrophe. Okay, if the word is plural, then don't use an apostrophe. For example, kittens or apostrophes, you don't add an apostrophe to those words. Placing an apostrophe before the final S is universally considered incorrect and commonly referred to as the Greengrocer's apostrophe or Greengrocer's apostrophe. With or without the S there, the apostrophe either goes before or after the S that's already at the end of the word. But doing that refers to either more than one, not just one. Okay? To write, there is 2 T's in Matthew may confuse the reader even though it's grammatically correct. Alternatively, you could rephrase this as there are 2 T's, spelling it out, there are 2, T-W-O, T's, T in quotation marks, S in Matthew. However, the modern convention is to avoid using an apostrophe in plurals wherever possible, even in the plural of numbers and abbreviations and letters. For example, I keep buying DVDs. You don't use an apostrophe for the word DVDs. Or he loves 80s music. You don't use an apostrophe for 80s. It's preferable to just adding an apostrophe if you just leave it like that. Moving on to the next thing, could have, should have, would have. Even though we might pronounce could have as could have, a contraction of that word, or rather saying could of, is incorrect. Even writing it wouldn't be correct at all. Always use have, should have, or would have. It's actually more useful to use these words in their broken up form than to try to use their contracted counterparts. However, these 2 upcoming words I'm going to mention, its and its, are the 2 most confusing words in the English language. There are 2 of them. There are many others, but these are one of the top ones. The connection between its and its occurs because on virtually every other word, it's an apostrophe S. Apostrophe plus S indicates, possession. So English speakers naturally want to use its, apostrophe S, to mean something belongs to it. But that is actually wrong. Its, with the apostrophe, is a contraction of 2 words, it is or it has. Its, with no apostrophe, is its possessive form, like hers, his, or whose. But, like I said before, if you have doubt as to which version to use, try replacing the word with it is or it has. If it still scans correctly, then you can use the apostrophe. Otherwise, don't use it. I'm not going to go over this one too much, but the words there, and there, referring to there, T-H-E-R-E, there, T-H-E-I-R, and there, T-H-E-Y-R-E. There is a difference between them. There, with T-H-E-R-E, refers to a place or an idea, whereas there, T-H-E-I-R, is possessive in meaning, and there, T-H-E-Y apostrophe R-E, is a contraction of they are. I shouldn't have to really express what they really mean with any examples because it's kind of self-explanatory. But then there's theirs and theirs. Theirs spelled THERE apostrophe S, and theirs THEIRS. I shouldn't have to really express this one too much. That theirs with the apostrophe is a contraction of there is, whereas theirs THEIRS is still possessive as a pronoun, but it's the plural form and usually used in third person writings. So it's a word you can technically use when you're writing papers in English class.
Oh, thank you.
Next are the two. As you already know, there are three kinds of two. Two, to, has two functions. First is the preposition and always precedes a noun, hence, I am going to the shops, or this belongs to Mary. Second, to, indicates an infinitive when it's preceded by a verb. It's kind of hard to talk today when I can barely breathe out of my nose. I'm sorry. I need to sleep. He wants to go for a walk. Thus, it's, in a way, more being of a possessive nature in the state that it's saying something that needs to be done. Next is to, T-O-O. It also has two uses. The first is as a synonym for also. Like, can I come too? I think that belongs, I think that's his bag too. It can also be replaced with the word also. I think that's his bag also, or can I come also? If you can replace the word T-O-O with the word also, then that word fits there. However, the second one means excessively when it's preceded by an adjective or an adverb. Like, I'm too tired to go out, or you're too generous. In these cases, using the word also to replace the word to, T-W-T-O-O, is incorrect because it wouldn't make any sense. And then the last two, TWO is a number, therefore it is less confusing to use. However, keep this in mind that while this one it may be the least confusing of the three, the most common confusion is between TO and TOO. And with that, like I said, try replacing the word with also or as well. And if the phrase makes sense, then use TOO. Okay? Otherwise, it's probably just TO. Because obviously it won't be a number. And then there's other words too that are just frequently misused. We're going to cover those in a second. Alright. So the frequently misused words are, first one is decimate. Strictly enough, decimate means to reduce by 1/10 and not to reduce to 1/10. However, this usage is now increasingly common and seems likely to become accepted. We don't want this to happen. Next is literally. Literally means actually or without exaggeration. When you say I literally, you are describing something exactly as it happened and without exaggeration. If you were to say, I literally died of boredom, you're implying you actually died, and the use of literally in that context is actually incorrect. Next is lose and loose. Lose is the opposite of win, whilst loose is the opposite of tight or contained. That's the difference between those two. Next is weather and weather. Weather with E-A-T-H-E-R and weather spelled with W-H-E-T-H-E-R. The first one, W-E-A, weather, is usually a noun referring to the atmospheric conditions as a particular point in time. You know, like the weather outside it's hot, 105 degrees, and possible 50% chance of rain. Whereas the other weather is a conjunction that introduces alternatives. For example, whether I win or lose, or you do it whether you like it or not. Weather is similar to if, and if you can replace the word with if, then you can use the word weather, although it might be better just to use if. In conclusion, while this is a very brief section that I cover on common mistakes found in English writing, it is still very important to look into these topics, these things, and correct it. However, as you can see, the English language is unfortunately complex, and most spelling and grammar checkers will not pick up subtle distinctions between some of the often confusing words that I just mentioned. Likewise, such checkers will not pick up on mistyped words such as fur instead of for, or if instead of it, or indeed spot all missing words. It is vital that you therefore do not rely on a spell checker or to proofread your work for you. It really is hard to breathe. Sorry. The best advice is to read your writings, or better still, get someone else to read it and then check it for you. Most people find it easier to spot errors when reading from a printed copy compared to reading it on a computer screen. So just print it out and read it that way. Alright? And that concludes this section on common mistakes in writing. Next time I'll cover formal and informal writing styles.